All rise. The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated. Madam Court Officer, please call the case.
Good morning, Your Honors. This is KC BC 2020-06, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Hashim Thaçi, Kadri Veseli, Recep Selimin, Jakub Krasniqi.
Thank you. I note that the accused are all attending today via video link with our permission based on the fact that the witnesses will both be by video link. Before we start hearing the testimony of prosecution witness W04600, I note for the record that duty counsel for 4600 is present at the remote location. Good morning, counsel. Hope he's not in yet. Madam Court Officer, will you bring the witness and duty counsel into the room? Madam Court Officer, I misspoke. Madam Court, she doesn't have her ears on. Yeah. Mr. Osai, you may be seated. I only need the duty counsel. At this time. The witness should stay out of the room while I discuss a matter with Mr. Osai. You can be seated, Mr. Osai. First of all, if you would identify yourself for the court on the record. You have to turn your microphone on.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I am a lawyer Kadri Osay with my office in Mitrovica. I have citizenship of the Republic of Kosovo and Austria. I've been a lawyer since 2004. I reside and work in Kosovo. If further information is needed, I'm welcoming your questions.
Osai, and thank you for being with us. And
I insisted that if other proceedings were to be initiated against my client, then that his prior statement would not be used against my client. With respect to the proceedings here in this court, I will not refer to this circumstance because this can be done by other counsels. However, I wish to inform you about this reality because I noted in the transcript that the objection was recorded, but not the reasoning.
Thank you for supplying your reasoning. Does the prosecutor wish to? Just a second.
I will have another issue to raise.
Let's finish with this one first. Prosecutor, do you wish to respond?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The SPO interviewed 4600 as a suspect in January 2020 in full compliance with the procedures set forth in Article 38 and Rules 42 to 44. The witness was clearly informed about his rights as a suspect, including the right to remain silent and to be assisted by counsel, which he waived in writing in accordance with the requirements of Rule 43.3. And the waiver was disclosed to the defense as 072908, 072914, Rat 2. The transcript of his SPO interview, Your Honors, the first part, pages 2 and 4, make it very clear that the waiver was both voluntary and unequivocal, in full compliance with the law of the Kosovo Specialist Chambers and the jurisprudence of the European Court of Human Rights. Finally, Your Honors, the witness suffered no prejudice in relation to any alleged violation of his rights. So we don't see any issue with the way the interviews were taken.
Thank you. Now, what is your second issue, Mr. Osai?
The second issue is that the witness expressed his willingness to give evidence openly for the public to be able to follow these proceedings. He filed a request with the specialist chambers in order to be allowed to testify openly, publicly, and I don't see any impediment to this. We haven't received an answer yet, despite the fact that we submitted our request and our reasons for that.
We will deal with that in just a moment when your client comes into the room.
Your Honor, we are in public session and I can confirm that the protective measures have been removed, and from this point on the witness will testify without voice and face distortion.
All right, witness, we now indicate that you are now in public session as you requested, and there are no protective measures given. We now ask you to take a solemn declaration to tell the truth, and for this we would kindly ask you to stand. The court usher has provided you with the text of the solemn declaration which you are asked to take pursuant to our rules. Please take a look at the document and then read it aloud.
Conscious of the significance of my testimony and my legal responsibility, I solemnly declare that I will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and that I shall not withhold anything which has come to my knowledge.
You can be seated now. As to the question
Thank you.
sufficiency of the warning given the witness at the time of prior statements, we find that the statements were fully, that the witness was fully advised of his rights as a suspect, and he waived his right to counsel and his right to remain silent at that time. Witness, we will give you now some general instructions that we want you to follow during the trial, or during your testimony. Today we will start your testimony. It is expected to last approximately 1 day. As you may know, the prosecution will ask you questions first. Once they are finished, the defense has the right to question you. Members of the panel might also ask questions of you. The prosecution estimate for your examination is 1 hour. The defense estimates that we'll need approximately 2 hours. As regards each estimate, we hope that the counsel will be judicious in the use of their time. The panel may allow redirect examination by the prosecution if conditions for it are met. Witness, please try to answer the questions clearly with short sentences. If you don't understand a question, feel free to ask counsel to repeat the question, or tell them you don't understand and they will clarify. Also, please try to indicate the basis of your knowledge of facts and circumstances that you will be asked about. In the event you are asked by the SPO to attest to some corrections made regarding your statements, you are reminded to confirm on the record that the written statement, as corrected by the list of corrections, accurately reflects your declaration. Please also speak into the microphone and wait 5 seconds before answering a question, and then speak at a slow pace so that the interpreters can catch up. During the next days while you are giving evidence in this court, you are not allowed to discuss with anyone the content of your testimony outside of the courtroom. If any person asks you questions outside the court about your testimony, please let us know. Please stop talking if I ask you to do so, and also stop talking if you see me raise my hand. These indications mean that I need to give you an instruction. If you feel the need to take a break at any time, please let us know and we will accommodate you. So we begin now with the questions, the direct questions by the prosecution. Please give them your attention. Mr. Prosecutor, you may proceed.
Your Honors, as this is the first time that I appear before this panel, I'll introduce myself. My name is Filippo Dominicis, and I'm a prosecutor with the SPO.
Thank you.
Good morning, witness.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name and surname?
Halim Berisha.
Please tell us your date and place of birth.
9 December 1958 in Grashtic, Pristina. Albanian.
Currently employed?
No, I'm retired.
For retiring? What's the last job you held?
Deputy Chief of Security in the hotel restaurant Swiss Diamond.
Preliminary question is, do you understand English at all?
No.
Could the court officer please call up statement? I have on the screen 072914 TR80 Part 1, revised Red 3. And the Albanian version as well, please. Witness, can you see the documents on the screen?
Yes.
Of an interview you had with the SPO in January 2021. Do you recall taking part in this interview?
Yes.
Last week, we met on occasion of your preparation session. Do you recall being shown this interview at the beginning of that session?
Yes, I recall it.
Now, if the court officer could call up another document, which is the witness testimony for KSC testimony on the 23rd September 2021.
Do you have the ERN number?
Yes, I do, Your Honor. The ERN number is KSC BC 2020-05, 2021-0923, ALB for the Albanian and ENG for the English one. Now, can you see the documents on the screen? This is actually...
Yes.
1 second, because there is the testimony of another witness at the beginning, and I'd like the witness to be shown. Yes, if we could go to page 704 in English. (704). I'm afraid I don't have the specific page in Albanian, but I'm not going to read out anything from that transcript, so I will ask the witness. Yeah. So, Mr. Witness, you also provided testimony before the Kosovo Specialist Chambers on the 23rd of September 2021, on the 24th, and on the 27th. Do you recall being shown the transcript of that testimony at the beginning of your preparation session?
Yes, I do.
Did you have the opportunity to review the transcripts of your SPO interview and of your KSC testimony before we began the preparation session?
Yes.
Your SPO interview and KSC testimony, you requested to make some corrections to some names and other information recorded therein, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Finish reading the statements, you wrote down the changes you requested in a note that was then read back to you, correct?
Yes.
As it was read back to you, accurately reflect your changes, the changes you wanted to make in your statements.
Yes.
Subject to the changes recorded in that note, do your SPO interview and trial testimony accurately reflect what you would say if examined today on the same topics?
Yes, certainly.
Submit that this satisfies the requirements of Rule 154. So the SPO 6 admission of Preparation Note 1, which bears ERN 122755 to 122757, and of the Rule 154 materials found to be admissible in Your Honor's decision of 13 September 2024, F02571, paragraphs 46 to 54. And these materials are listed in footnote 85 of that decision, but I'm prepared to read out the ERNs here if necessary.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
None.
No objection is heard. 072914 TR8T. How many parts?
There are 4 parts to the interview.
5? 4? Okay.
4 parts.
All four parts in English and Albanian is admitted.
Your Honor, 072914 TRET Part 1 revised Red 3, together with its Albanian version, will be assigned Exhibit P 01645.1. Part 2 of the same ERN will be assigned Exhibit P 1645.2. Part 3 for the same ERN, both English Albanian, will be assigned Exhibit P 01645.3. And Part 4 for both English Albanian of the same ERN will be assigned Exhibit P 01645.4. And Your Honors, I would appreciate that we clarify classification for each.
Yes. We request that even though the witness protection measures have been revoked, that these materials remain confidential for the protection of the identity of other victims and witnesses in this case who still enjoy protective measures. While the associated exhibits, Your Honors, can be classified as public.
KSC-BC-2020-05 2011-0923 is in Albanian and English, is admitted.
Your Honors, that also consists of 3 parts. So KSC BC 2020-05, 2021-09-23 English and Albanian will be assigned Exhibit P01646.1. KSC BC 2020-05, 2021-09-24 English and Albanian will be assigned Exhibit P01646.2. And for the third date, KSC BC 2020-05, 2021-09-27 English and Albanian transcripts will be assigned Exhibit P01646.3.
Your Honor, I would like to add that due to an oversight, one of the associated exhibits, and that is SPOE 001-28386 to 001-28420, was not included in the presentation queue. We were advised that was the case by the court officer, and so we're putting that on the record, but we still request that it be admitted.
We have the prep note, which is 122755 to 122757, and it is admitted, together with the associated exhibits.
Your Honor, the prep note 122755 to 122757 will be exhibit number P01647 and will be classified as confidential as indicated. For the associated exhibits, Your Honors, there is a photo book for which separate pages have been admitted as evidence. Should each page be assigned separate number or the photo book as one exhibit number?
Do you have a preference?
We would prefer for one exhibit number for the old book.
Unless there's an objection, it will be one exhibit number for the book, and you'll have to refer page by page.
Your Honor, not in relation to the book.
Just a second.
Your Honour, my apologies. Just in relation to the book, considering that this witness is to testify publicly and has waived his protective measures, perhaps the best course in terms of confidentiality is that the 154 package remains confidential until the prosecution submit relevant redactions and then it be converted to public, as it is his evidence in chief.
The booklet can be classified as public. We're not requesting that it be remains confidential.
Your Honour, my submission is in relation to his prior testimony and his interview. My learned friend had suggested that his prior testimony and interview should be confidential as it refers to other protected witnesses. That interview and that prior testimony is this witness's evidence in chief. This witness wishes to give evidence in public. His evidence in chief, therefore, should be public. We, of course, recognise the concerns of the prosecution in relation to references to others. So the submission simply is that it remain confidential at the moment, that the prosecution submit proposed redactions, and then it is converted to a public document.
We'll mark the book as one exhibit, and it will be public. Go ahead.
Your Honors, the book with ERN SPOE 00128-386 to 00128-420 and the specific pages that were admitted as the Rule 154 package will be assigned Exhibit P01648. Furthermore, Your Honors, there's a few more associated exhibits. KSC BC 2020-05, REG 00-002 will be assigned Exhibit P01649. KSC BC 2020-05, REG 00-004 will be assigned Exhibit P01650. KSC BC 2020-05 REG 00005 will be assigned Exhibit P01651. KSC BC 2020-05 REG 00-006 will be assigned Exhibit P01652. And lastly, KSC BC 2020-05 REG 00-007 will be assigned Exhibit P01653. And for those last ones, can we clarify classification, or they're also public?
They can be public.
Reclassified as public then, that list. Go ahead, Mr. Prosecutor.
Your Honors, on the 12th of September 2024, we emailed the proposed summary to the defense for this witness. We received no objection, so with Your Honor's leave, I'm going to read it on the record.
Go ahead.
In April 1999, 4600, acting upon an order, escorted the murder victim to the BIA compound in Slash. As he was handing over the victim to a guard at the entrance of the compound, 4600 saw Salim Mustafa, who was standing on a balcony within the compound. They exchanged greetings, and 4600 left. Towards the end of April 1999, after the end of the Serb offensive in the Slash area, 4600 learned that the murder victim had died. This concludes the summary.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Witness, I have a few additional questions in addition to the question that I've asked you about your prior statements. And I want to begin by showing you some photographs. If the court officer could please pull up SPOE 002-2549, which can be broadcast to the public. Thank you. Witness, can you see the photograph on your screen?
Yes.
People depicted in this photograph.
Only Salim Mustafa.
Describe his appearance in that photograph. How is he dressed?
He has got the camouflage uniform of the Kosovo Liberation Army, and he's wearing a red beret, and he's got the emblem of the KRA.
I'm done with this photograph. If we could now pull up 222550. Maybe we can enlarge the picture a little bit. Yeah, that will do. Thank you. So, witness, do you see the new photograph on your screen?
Yes.
Court, if you recognize any of the persons depicted in that photo, starting from the right-hand side of the photograph.
From my right-hand side?
Yes.
Remy is the first one.
You know the full name?
Mustafa.
Then what about the person next?
Rustem Mustafa.
Okay, you may continue.
Ramush Haradinaj.
And then do you know the identity of the person next to him, sitting down?
Rahman Rama.
And do you recognize any other person in this photograph?
Sadi Mustafa too.
Thank you. Can we please, I'm done with this photograph. Could we please move on to the next one, which is 222548? And this should not be broadcast to the public because it concerns a private dinner in a private setting, so for the privacy of those involved. Now, witness, I'm going to ask you again to identify the people you can recognize, starting this time from the left-hand side of the picture and moving clockwise across the photograph.
Sadi Mustafa.
And then the person sitting next to him, do you recognize that person?
Yes. Bimi.
Do you recall the name of that person?
It escapes me for the moment.
Your Honor, if I may be allowed to refresh the witness memory with information he provided during the preparation session. So during the preparation session, as recorded in the in preparation note 2, which bears ERN 122758 to 122763, you told us that Bimi's name was Ibrahim Mehmeti. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, correct.
To move clockwise, who's the person sitting next to Mr. Mehmeti? Do you recognize him?
Adem Shehu.
The person sitting to Mr. Shehu? Sitting next to Mr. Shehu?
Fatmir Humoli.
You recognize the last person, the one on the right-hand side of the photograph?
No, I do not.
Do you recall if Mr. Humoli had any position within the KLA during the war?
As far as I know, he dealt with issues of organization of the Kosovo Liberation Army.
Of what operational zone, if any, was he a member of?
In the LAP operational zone.
I'm done with this photograph. If we could please pull up 222575. Witness, could you please tell the panel if you recognize the persons in this photograph?
Salim Mustafa is the only one I know.
Do you recognize, or does the person standing next to Mr. Mustafa look familiar to you in any way?
Maybe I have seen him somewhere, but I don't know who he is.
May I be allowed to refresh the witness memory with information provided during the preparation session?
Yes, you may. Go ahead.
Witness, when we met and I showed you this photograph, you said that that person looked to you like Agron Gemaili, although you were not 100% sure. Do you recall giving us that information?
Yes, I did tell it to you, but he's not. When I looked at that picture, I discerned the resemblance, but in fact it's not.
Well, can we please move to the next photograph, which would be 222582. And the next photograph, as this one, can be broadcast to the public. Now, can you tell the court if you recognize any of the people in this photograph?
I recognize Salim Mustafa, Saidi Veseli, and Valon Murati.
Please tell the court who do you recognize as being Mr. Veseli, Saidi Veseli? Could you describe the person or his position in the photograph?
It's the gentleman to my left.
So is it the one with the mustache or without the mustache?
The one wearing a moustache.
I'm done with this photograph, and Your Honors, I would now I would like to tender these photographs into evidence, the ones that I've showed to the witness.
Any objection?
Your Honour, yes, the objection goes to relevance. All of the photos tendered, we have no information in relation to where they were taken, the dates upon which they were taken, and in relation to those which appear to be taken during wartime, we would ask the prosecution to identify the issue to which these photos go, as to us their relevance is not clear. And in relation to the photograph taken what appears to be post-war, again, we can see no relevance in a coffee being had amongst men in the post-war period. And we would again ask the relevance of that photograph to the issues in this trial.
I'd be happy to do so, Your Honors. These photographs depict persons of interest in the case, commanders of units under whose area of responsibility the crimes have alleged to have happened, and so that per se establishes relevance, but also the witness knowledge of these people can be a factor that also adds to their relevance. His membership in the KLA and his relation with the individuals depicted in the photographs. So they're relevant.
The objection's overruled and the photos will be admitted. SPO 0022549.
Your Honor, that will be assigned Exhibit P01654.
And 222550.
That would be Exhibit P01655.
222548.
That will be assigned Exhibit P01656.
222575.
Will be assigned Exhibit number P01657.
And 222582.
Will be assigned Exhibit P01658. And I know they're all classified confidential, but we can, if Counsel can clarify.
They can be classified as public with the exception of 22548, which we requested.
So noted. Thank you.
Witness, I'm done with the photographs, and I will now move on to asking you some questions concerning the presence of the Cardact Zone staff in Slash. In your previous testimony, you testified that in addition to Brigade 153 of the Lab Operational Zone and to the BA unit, the Cardact Operational Zone staff was also based in Slash, and for reference, this can be found in his testimony of the 23rd of September, 2021, at page 718 in English and 52 in Albanian. My first question is, when did the Cardact Zone staff set up their headquarters in Slash?
The Karadak staff headquarters was stationed at Slash as of the time of its formation.
And was the Cardact Zone formed before, at the same time, or after the Lab Operational Zone?
I do not know, but I know that it was stationed at Slash as of the time of its formation, and it stayed there for over a certain period of time.
By the time, for instance, of March and April 1999, do you recall if by that time the Cardact Zone was already stationed in Slash?
I think it was there in March. I'm not very certain about April.
In fact, this is my next question. Do you recall until when the Cardact staff kept their base in Slash?
I think until the beginning of the Serbian offensive, it withdrew and it went in the Maric neighborhood somewhere, but the location is not known to me.
Do you recall when the Serbian offensive that you're talking about began?
The Serbian offensive began on the 18th of April.
Do you remember what year that was?
Not
1999.
Now, in your testimony, you have described the location of the BIA base in Slash. Can you explain to the panel where the Kardak zone headquarters were located in relation to the BIA unit base?
They were roughly 2 kilometers apart.
If you were at the BIA base, to get to the Kardak zone headquarters, which you told us was about 2 kilometers apart, would you walk uphill or downhill?
Downhill.
Do you remember any further detail that can help narrow down its position vis-a-vis the BIA base?
It was close to the school. It was 300 or 400 meters downwards from the school. That's where the base was.
During the time that the Kardak zone headquarters were based in Slash, the location you've just described for us, who was the Kardak zone commander?
Ahmet Yusufi.
Who was the deputy commander?
Shocha
Shocha, whose name I cannot remember.
May I refresh the witness memory on this point? You told us during the preparation session that indeed Shacha was the deputy commander and his name was Shemzi Sula.
Shemzi Sula.
Could the court officer please pull up SITF 002 40755? This document can be broadcast to the public. Now, if we can start from the top and zoom in a little bit on the first paragraph, the header, if you want, of that document. Now, witness, this is a document sent by the staff of the Kardak operational zone to the military police of Brigade 153 of the LAP zone. And now if we can scroll down the document, both in English and Albanian, to the bottom.
Your Honour, my apologies. Perhaps if the prosecution could make it clear that that is their case, that is not a fact.
It is our case. But at the bottom right, it is signed by the Kardak Operational Zone Deputy Commander, who happens to be Shacha, as you told us. Now, if you could take a moment to read the document on the screen, and the Albanian, I hope you can read the the calligraphy, the handwriting, and familiarize yourself with the content of the document. And I would like to ask you a couple of questions about it once you're done.
I'm familiar with this.
So, are you familiar with the content of this document? Is that what you're familiar with?
Yes.
A request made by Thaçi to the military police of Brigade 153. What details, if any, do you recall about this request?
This request was made after the offensive.
At the time, were you familiar, at the time after the offensive, were you familiar with this request made by Thaçi to the military police of Brigade 153?
He filed this to the military, with the military police of Brigade 153.
Issue ever discussed in your presence, the issue described in detail in this document?
Yes.
Done with this document, Your Honors, I tender this document in evidence.
Your Honour, yes. The objection is that the requirements of Rule 138 in relation to authenticity have not been met. The simple observations that have been made on one aspect of the content are insufficient to authenticate the document.
SITF 02407555 will be admitted having met the minimum prima facie standards of 318. Go ahead.
Your Honor, that will be assigned Exhibit P01659, and if you can just confirm the classification.
Thank you. We're going to take a break. Witness, we'll give you a 10-minute break at this time. We'll come back to the courtroom in 10 minutes and continue with your testimony. Please don't discuss
Thank you.
courtroom, and you may now leave the the room with the court attendant. We're in public session. We will adjourn for 10 minutes. It's now 10:03.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated. Madam Court Officer, you may bring the witness in.
Your Honor, if I may take the opportunity in relation to the last document we sought to tender, that document can be classified as public.
Thank you. You can be seated, witness.
from that.
Thank you.
Continue with the examination by the Special Prosecutor's Office. Go ahead, Mr. Prosecutor.
Witness, before the break, we discussed, ask you some questions about the Cardact zone staff in Slash. I'm done with that topic. And I'll now ask you some questions about your whereabouts in June 1999 after Serb forces withdrew from Pristina. So your evidence is that in the spring of 1999, you were based in the neighborhood of Cervodik, located within the triangle formed by Gollak, Ketsekole, and Mramor. Your Honors, for reference, this can be found in his testimony of the 23rd of September 2021, pages 713, 714, and 46 to 47 in Albanian. Now, did you at any point in June 1999 move to another location?
Po, kemi
Yes, we did.
So,
kemi hinë Prishtinë.
We entered in Pristina.
who do you mean in addition to you?
Ka qenë Sedi Veseli,
Seydi Veseli, Shukri Rafuna, myself, and other soldiers. We were together.
And that, did you move together with a specific unit or part of a specific unit of the KLA? These persons you have mentioned.
jo.
No, no.
Jo, nuk i shumë.
We were all soldiers from Brigade 153. There was a certain number of soldiers of us who entered Pristina in order to protect the civilian population from the Serbian forces who were pulling out military, paramilitary, and police forces.
153 group that you entered Pristina with.
E drejtonte Sedi Veseli.
It was led by Seydi Veseli.
KLA unit other than part of Brigade 153 enter Pristina on that occasion?
Jo, me neve nuk ka hyrë asnjë.
No, there was no other unit with us when we entered Pristina. Only soldiers from Brigade 153.
Ask you, but on what date did you and soldiers of Brigade 153, led by Sedi Veseli, enter Pristina?
Sedi Veseli.
Seydi Veseli.
8 qershor,
This happened on the 8th of June 1999, on the very day or night when the Russian forces moved in.
You told us that your group was just a group of Brigade 153, but do you know if any other KLA unit entered Pristina on or around the same date?
jo, nuk e di.
No, there were other groups who entered Pristina. I don't know the date. I don't know if they did before or after. But there were other units, such as BIA.
You told us that the purpose of you and your brigade, part of your brigade, entered Pristina on that date was to protect the civilian population from the withdrawing Serb forces and paramilitaries. Did you and the other soldiers receive any instructions before entering Pristina on how you should carry out this task?
We did not receive instructions, but every soldier knew that we were moving in to protect the civilian population from Serbian forces and paramilitaries. We did not receive any specific order on how to exactly protect them because we were already informed and we had information about the situation.
Any instruction on how to protect any member of the Serb civilian population that remained?
No. There was no distinction between civilians, be them Turks, Albanians, or Bosnian. We were there to protect the civilian population from the Serb forces and paramilitaries.
When you entered Pristina on the 8th of June 1999, where in the city did you and the rest of your brigade set up your base?
We entered in the part Vranjec neighborhood, now it's called Kodrat Rimave. We did not have a base, but we settled in private houses.
Oh, are you familiar with a school in Pristina named after Zenel Hajdini?
Yes, I know where it is.
Is that school located?
In Kodrat Rimave.
Once you enter Pristina, correct?
No. We were not in the school, we were in private houses.
My question was confusing. I meant Vranjec, Kodrat Rimave. That's the place where you entered.
Yes. The school is situated in Kodrat Rimave neighborhood.
You told us you entered on the 8th of June. For how long did you and the rest of your unit remain stationed in that area?
About 2 weeks. 10 days to 2 weeks.
And during this time, was anyone, to your knowledge, stationed in the Zenel Hajdini school?
Could you please repeat the question?
During the time that you were in the Vranjec area, you told us you stayed there for a couple of weeks, and you used as accommodation some private houses. Now, my question is whether any unit set up their base, or were staying in the Zenel Hajdini school.
No, I'm not aware there was one. I am not aware of any unit in the school Zine El Haydini.
Did you ever participate in any celebrations in or around that school, the Zine El Haydini school?
Yes, I participated on the 12th of June when two K4 vehicles came, and we and the civilians in the area went out to celebrate together with NATO soldiers. We celebrated outside the school building, not inside the school. We celebrated with them.
Anything in particular about these celebrations?
I don't recall something specific, with the exception of...
Sorry, please go ahead.
While we were celebrating, somebody raised the flag in the school. That was a rather noticeable event, that's all.
What was that?
I think it was the national red and black flag.
So, witness, you told us how on the 8th of June you moved to Pristina, to the Vranjec area with part of Brigade 153. You were aware of the fact that BIA had also entered, although you didn't know the circumstances. To your knowledge, did the command of the LAP operational zone set up any base in Pristina after the withdrawal of Serb forces?
Yes. They set it up in the neighborhood Kojlovica area.
May I have a second to consult with my...
Yes.
Thank you, witness. Your Honor, this concludes our examination in chief.
Thank you. Ms. Tavakoli.
Your Honour, having spoken to the prosecutor about the limits on this evidence being public, I request that we go into private session.
Into private session, please, Madam Court Officer.
Your Honours, we're in public session.
Now, you called the prosecutor's office twice on the telephone on the 27th of February 2023 and the 14th of March 2023, and the reference for the record is ERN 111184 and ERN 111004. And in those telephone calls, do you remember that you queried why you had to give evidence in this case against my client and the others? Do you remember making those calls?
Paul.
Yes.
Understand why you'd been called to give evidence against Hashim Thaçi and the others, because you don't know them, do you?
Nog die absoluut arsjoen.
I do not know the reason, and obviously I don't know any of them, so I do not know the reason why I have been invited, and that is the reason why I contacted them.
Prosecutor, in those calls that you had no evidence against them, correct?
Som är sagt.
Correct, yes. I have absolutely nothing against them. I do not know them.
No further questions.
Ms. Rowan.
Mr. Breacher, good morning. Can you hear me?
Just Paul.
Good morning, yes.
Now, Mr. Breacher, just to make clear at the outset, I don't intend to ask you any questions about the incident that you were just discussing with Ms. Tavakoli, and I don't intend to ask you any questions about your activities in the KLA during the war. However, I would just ask for your assistance in helping us to just clarify some of the issues that you have discussed with the prosecution in the past. And what I would like to do is begin with asking you some questions about Agron Jamali, who has been mentioned already today. Now, it's right that you joined the KLA in April 1998.
Oh, I got that.
Yes, that's true.
Agron Jamali himself was an early member of the KLA from the time period when it first began to organise in the Golak area in 1998.
Paul.
Yes.
First early or founding members in the region, and he was doing so alongside Fatimir Sopi, Seji Vaseli and Rahman Dini. Is that correct?
Paul.
Yes.
Their position as early or founding members, those men took on, in those early days in 1998, commanding roles in the area. Isn't that right?
Paul.
That's right.
Therefore, along with those men, was a commander from the early summer 1998.
Eikä Paul nyt
He played a key role
got.
in the brigade.
Your initial entry into the KLA at the beginning of the summer, he was your superior, is that correct?
He was everyone's superior. Some of them.
Exactly, but just so that we're clear on timing, from the point at which you entered the KLA in those early summer months in '98, he was your superior from the outset, is that correct?
He was a superior, but we were not aware who was a commander, who was not, because they were all part and parcel of the organization of the KLA in Golab. Fatmir Sobi, Salim Mustafa, Seydi Veseli, they were all organizers of the Kosovo Liberation Army.
While you may not have been clear on his exact title at the time, what you were clear on was that he was superior to you and he was superior to other soldiers, is that right?
Yes.
You just mentioned your other superiors were the gentlemen that you just mentioned, in addition to Agron Jamali.
Well, Your Honor, this is a slight miscorrect.
Yes, all of them.
Mischaracterization of the evidence. He just listed these names as organizers of the KLA, but he didn't say that they were all his superiors.
Sustained.
Witness, could you clarify, please, the gentlemen that you just mentioned as being founding members of the KLA, were they also superior to you in the summer months of '98?
Yes, that's true.
Now, a moment ago, when mentioning Agron Jamali, you said all of us. So could I just clarify that he was not only a superior to you, but he was also a superior to those who were part of the military police?
Yes, he was superior to all. At least that's what we knew about it.
What was your understanding?
Yes.
Became the military police commander of Brigade 153, in early '99. That's correct.
Yes.
That Rafuna arrived, you were taking your orders from Jamali and those other commanders we've discussed. Is that correct?
Yes, but mostly from Agron Jamali.
So from the outset up until Rafuna's arrival, Agron Jamali, throughout that period, was the person mainly giving you orders.
As far as we were concerned, yes.
Now, you've told the SPO previously that, just to quote what you said, that up until the moment that Shukri Rafuna arrived, up until that moment we reported to Agron Jamali. Can I just clarify with you, once...
Reference, please.
Of course, the reference is SPO interview part 1, 072914 TRET, line 10, page 18. Apologies, witness. The question was, after Rafuna's arrival, did you continue to take orders from Agron Jamali, or after that point, after he arrived, did you report and take orders only from him?
för de bägge två.
Not only from the last. No, only from the last one. Correction from the interpreter. Only from the last one.
Could I just ask you to clarify, when you say only from the last one, could you specify please who you're referring to?
Shukri Rafuna.
Understand your evidence correctly to be that upon his arrival, that was who you reported to and took orders from?
That's right, yes.
Thank you. Now, you've already clarified for us that Agron Jamali had the power to give orders both to the military police and to the brigade. But could I also clarify, in terms of the units that were operating in Golak at the time, it's right that the units reported to Agron Jamali, but also to the brigade commander. Is that correct? So we're talking about reporting.
They reported to Agron, but to the commander too.
Just for clarity, that would have been Fatmir Sopi in the early days and Adam Shehu from early 99. Is that right?
Yes.
When speaking with the SPO, you have previously explained to the SPO that there was no distinguishing features between the military, police and the army. And I just want to read how you explained the position to the SPO. And the reference for the record is P01645.1, line 10, page 18. You were asked this question, Mr. Berisha. And would Agron Jamali task the military police or the brigade? And you gave the SPO this answer. He would task the military police and the brigade because we were the same. There were no distinguishing between the military police and us. We were equal. The military police and the army, we were the same, we were equal. The additional task that we had to look after the soldiers and to make sure that there was not any unpleasant behaviour or acts that would be unpleasant
Ms.
in them.
Rowan, can you slow down? It has to be interpreted.
Of course, thank you for the reminder. Perhaps if I just repeat that last line for the benefit of the interpretation. You said this, Mr. Berisha, we were equal. The additional task that we had to look after the soldiers and to make sure that there were not any unpleasant behaviour or any acts that would be unpleasant in their behaviour. So,
That is correct, yes.
It's time to take a break.
thank you.
Witness, we'll give you a half-hour break at this time. We'll come back to the court at 11:30. Remember not to speak with anyone outside the courtroom. And if someone tries to talk to you, you report it to us. Madam Court Officer, you can take the witness out of the room now. Yes, Mr. Tully.
Simply housekeeping, Your Honour. The Salimi team will go first in cross-examination of the witness following this one. I didn't send an email, it's just easier to do it in court. Thank you.
Ms. Rowan, how much more do you have? Can you give us a hint?
I believe, Your Honour, we had indicated an hour. We've used 10 minutes. I don't anticipate we'll need the hour. 15, 20 minutes? 15 to 20, I would hope. Thank you. We will go under the hour.
Thank you. We're adjourned till
Jonna, can I-
11:30.
Can I also just indicate, I'm sorry, can I also just indicate for planning purposes that our cross-examination would be about 10 to 15 minutes and not 30 minutes?
Thank you for the update. We're adjourned until 11:30.
All rise. All rise.
Please be seated. Madam Usher, you may bring the witness. Court attendant, you may bring the witness in. Witness, we now continue with the questions from the Vasily defense team. Go ahead, Ms. Rowan.
Welcome back, Mr. Berisha. Before the break, I had read to you the account that you had given.
Thank you.
The evidence that you had given to the SPO in your interview, where you were discussing the fact that the military police and the brigade were equal, and you had just confirmed that the passage that I read to you is correct. So just following on from that, could I just clarify that as far as you were concerned, the only difference that existed between the army and the military police, as you saw it, was that the military police had an additional task of making sure that the soldiers were not behaving in any sort of unpleasant way?
Correct.
Now, in terms of the relationship between your brigade's military police and your brigade's information service, it's right, isn't it, that they were separate functions in the brigade and that the information service was not part of the military police?
Correct. They were not part of the military police.
Mr. Berisha, is just read you Agron Jamali's description of his relationship to you and see if you agree with that. So Agron Jamali was asked, and I'll go slow for the interpreters, and what was Halim Berisha's role within the brigade?
Reference, please.
The reference is 076501 TOR ET Part 3, page 5, line 1. So, Mr. Berisha, Agron Jamali was asked this. He was asked, what was Halim Berisha's role within the brigade? And he answered, he was a soldier of the brigade and part of the unit in his neighbourhood of Servanik. He was then asked, was he a brigade military policeman or perform a military policing role at the time in April 99? He answered, I don't remember for April. Maybe later on he incorporated in what we call the military police, but I don't know. Question, was he your subordinate or was he within your chain of command? And Agron Jamali gave this answer. He was not my direct subordinate, but, however, he was a soldier, just like any other soldier, and I was a commander. So in a way, he was my subordinate, just like the other soldiers were. Mr. Berisha, would you agree with that description of your relationship to Mr. Jamali?
Yeah.
No, because from the beginning when I joined,
Of course, Mr.
Finish, please.
his statement is not correct, because when I joined the KLA at the beginning, I was from the beginning in the unit of the military police. From the beginning to the end, I belong to that unit.
Yeah, so in answering his questions, Mr. Jamali doesn't remember when you were in military police. But in terms of his answer about you being answerable to him as his subordinate, do you agree with that?
I don't seem to understand the question. In the dependency relationship.
My fault. I'm simply asking you to clarify, as you have already today, that the relationship between you and Mr. Berisha was that he was your superior.
Yes.
Now, as your superior, he was in a position to give you tasks.
Yes.
Right, that his authority to give you tasks came from his position as your superior, is that correct?
Jonas,
Could you please repeat the question again?
Please.
forgive me for standing up, but I think there's something on the record that needs to be corrected. I think my learned friend maybe misspoke when she said the relationship between you and Mr. Berisha. I think she meant somebody else.
I'm grateful to my learned friend. That is, of course, an error. It should be Jamali.
Why don't you just repeat the question?
Could I have a reference for the question? A line reference?
Page 53, line 14.
Thank you. Mr. Berisha, could we clarify, please, that in terms of your relationship with Mr. Jamali, it's right that Mr. Jamali was your superior? Apologies.
Yes, he was.
We have the record clear. Now, in terms of Mr. Jamali's authority to give you tasks, it's right that that authority came from his position as your superior. Would you agree?
Normal.
Naturally, every superior had the right to give orders.
Now, would you agree that his authority to do so was unrelated to the fact that he had a role within the information service later on?
Yeah.
Correct.
So, other than Agron Jamali, it's right that there were no other soldiers or superiors responsible for the information service within your brigade.
I am not aware, I don't know.
Role and Agron Jamali's role in the information service. You were asked about that by the prosecution previously. And is it right, as you told them, that as far as you understood Mr. Jamali's role as head of the information service for the brigade, you understood him to be responsible for gathering intelligence, and as you explained, that included gathering intelligence on hostile elements to the KLA. Is that correct?
Reference.
P01645.1, page 21, line 3.
Io non credo,
No, I don't know about this. I only know that he was the head of the information service. I don't know what he did and what actions he undertook.
So when you told the SPO that you understood him to be responsible for gathering intelligence, you had no knowledge of the specifics of that task or what that task entailed in reality, is that right?
io.
Correct.
What I'd like to do is just read to you what Agron Jamali described his role to be himself. He has said in the past that, and I'll quote this, "As I understood my role, by my own means, because no one explained to me the role, I looked for, gathered intelligence in the field regarding the Serbian positions, armed forces, Serbian armed forces, because they were attacking us at any moment, and I trying to find out what they were." The reference for that is 076501 TOR ET Part 1, page 16, line 8. Now, Mr. Berisha, would you have any reason to disagree with Mr. Jamali's description of his own role that he has given?
Io secondo se non credo.
No, I don't dispute that because I don't know. He did not report to me what his tasks were. I don't know.
Yes, and again, Mr. Jamali has explained in the past that one of his roles was not identifying collaborators. Again, would you have any reason to dispute that? And
Objection. So he doesn't know.
Sustained.
In terms of information about Serbian forces positioning, did you ever experience Mr. Jamali coming to the brigade and the armies in the brigade to give you information that he had about Serbian forces?
Io no.
No. He didn't come to tell us about Serbian forces. But he was most of the time in the brigade.
In terms of his other duties, and the reference for this is 076501 TOR ET, page 16, line 19. He has described having various duties within the brigade, and that those included making sure there was enough food, enough weapons, clothes, shelter, to making sure there was medical, weaponry supplies, and other supplies. Did you experience Mr. Jamali undertaking or witness him undertaking tasks such as those?
Yes, that's true. And not only him, but this was an obligation for everyone to take care of the soldiers and to provide them with supplies, clothes, and so on. It was an obligation for us.
To Mr. Berisha, that I just want to cover with you is the question of reporting lines. So who was reporting to who, and the question of who had power to give tasks to who. Now, despite the fact that you were a soldier and then in the police, you were asked some questions about reporting within the information service by the prosecution. Do you remember being asked those questions in your interview?
Yes.
What I'd like to do with you, Mr. Berisha, is just look at some of the answers that you have given in the past and clarify the position on those. And what I would like to be very clear on is what you yourself have personal knowledge of versus what you might have thought was the case or what you might have been told by other people?
Nuk e kuptoj çka.
I don't understand the question.
It wasn't a question. It was not intended to be a question, Mr. Berisha, don't worry. What I was simply seeking to do was explain to you the exercise I'm about to embark on so that you understand what we're doing.
Okay.
So what I'd like to just focus on is some answers that you have given to the prosecution in the past when you were asked about who Algron Jamali got his orders from, all right?
Yes, I remember that.
To that. And the reference is, pardon me, it's an exhibit now, P01645.3, page 22, line 15 in the Albanian, page 19, line 5 in the English.
May the counsel please slow down when speaking?
Mr. Berisha, you were asked this by the prosecution. And who gave Agron Jamali his orders? Who was tasking him? You replied, as far as I know, and as far as I could understand, he got his orders from the staff of the lap zone. Question, who in particular? You answered, I don't know. I don't know from who exactly, but I know that Agron Jamali had full competencies as Chief of Information Services and that he would report to the zone, to the staff. This is how I know it. Question, right, but how do you know that he was reporting to the zone command? Answer, we knew, even from others, there was nothing to hide from each other. And then a little bit later, Mr. Berisha, at page 20, line 3, you were asked this by the prosecutor. So are you saying this, that the military police in the 153 Brigade were tasked by Agron Jamali, and Agron Jamali was tasked by the zone command? Is that the situation? And you said this, I don't know. I have no knowledge as to where he got the tasks or the orders from, whether it was the zone command or whether it was the Chief of Information Services. I know one thing, that Agron Jamali, he had the full competencies to arrest, not just one soldier, but with the soldier or commander. I don't know where he got these competencies from the zone command or from who, but I know he had the full competencies to do so. Now, what I'd like to do...
Yes.
So, it's right that you knew that Agron Jamali had the competencies of the Chief of Information Services, is that right?
Yes, he had the competencies of the Chief of the Information Service.
And you knew that because you observed that within the brigade, is that correct?
He was in the brigade constantly.
Where he got those competencies from, or who afforded those competencies to him, is that correct?
Correct, I don't know. And I was never present when he would have received any order from the zone or somebody else. I don't know.
And when you told the prosecutor, I have no knowledge as to where he got his tasks or the orders from, is that your position today?
Yes, I don't know.
As to where his tasks came from or who gave him his orders?
Correct, I don't have.
And the Chief of Information Services.
He's answered the question 3 times, Ms. Rowan, 3 or 4 times.
Thank you, Your Honour. I'll move on. So, witness, to clarify, when speaking to the SPO, you said this. As far as I know, and as far as I could understand, he got his orders from the LAP zone. So would it be fair to say that when you said that to the SPO, you were simply making an assumption, that you don't actually know that to be true?
Io nuk e kam ditë.
Correct. I didn't know. I made an assumption, and this is how I said it. I just guessed. I didn't know at the time, and I do not know now where he got his orders from. I just made an assumption.
Yes, and would you agree that Mr. Jamali himself is probably best placed to know who he received his orders from, if anybody?
Nuk e kuptova.
I didn't understand the question.
Exhausted that line, so if you have something else, move to it.
I'm going to move on to reporting after one more question. There's one passage I'd like to put to this witness before I do so.
Same question over again?
No, it deals with Mr. Mustafa.
All right, go ahead.
Apologies, Mr. Berisha. I'm going to read you something that Agron Jamali has said in relation to his relationship with Commander Remy. He said this, and the reference is 076501 TOR ET, Part 3, page 7, line 2. We never had, during the entire period of time we're referring to, we never received any order from Commander Remy. We managed ourselves to do things in the field, be that with regards to the supplies, weaponry, fighting. I don't have any orders from Commander Remy or requests saying, you have to act in this manner or in this manner. He visited us on 2 or 3 occasions. He asked, what have you done so far? We told him what we had done. He said, go, carry on, continue. We asked for support and help. He said, I cannot help you. And this is it. Now my question, Mr. Berisha, is do you have any reason to dispute that account that Mr. Jamali has given?
Io.
No.
I'd like to move now away from orders and on to the question of reporting. When you were speaking with the SPO, you were asked, how do you know that Agron Jamali was reporting to Zone Command? And you said, we knew, even from others, there was nothing to hide from anybody. Mr. Berisha, is it right that you had simply heard that that may be the case, but again, you do not know that to be true and cannot confirm it to be correct?
Io. No.
No, I'm not able to say 100%, and I don't know.
Speaking with the SPO during your interview, and the reference is 072, it's an exhibit, P01645.1. You explained to the SPO this. We were not allowed to talk directly to such superiors with regard to what he was allowed and what he was not allowed to do. So is it right, Mr. Berisha, that you were not permitted to inquire of your superiors or your commanders about the intricacies or details of their roles?
That's correct. We did not have the competencies to ask what the commander was doing and so on.
And again, I assume you would again agree that Mr. Jamali himself is best placed to know what his reporting lines were.
Yes.
Witness, I'm going to read you something that Mr. Jamali has said in the past, and the reference for the court is 076501 TRET Part 1, page 17, line 15. Mr. Jamali said this: "After we gathered this intelligence on the positions or movements of Serbian forces, we would go back to a meeting point where we all met, all of us, the friends I just mentioned before. We would share this information and use it to make best of, to defend our positions in our area." Question: yes, but where are you reporting this information to the zone command? Answer: no, not on a regular basis. That was not a formalised thing. However, as I mentioned, when I met with Remy, we would talk about it. He asked, "How are things going on your side?" And we would talk about this too. But there was no regular reporting. Nobody asked such a thing. So again, Mr. Berisha, would you have any reason to disagree with the account given by Mr. Jamali?
Objection, because he's been saying so far that he didn't know specifically who Jamali was reporting to, and he was not present during these meetings where they gathered together. So I'm not sure the witness is placed to give an answer to that question.
As Your Honour will have seen from the way in which the question was formed, the witness was simply asked if he disagrees with it. This is a common...
Just restate the question, please.
Mr. Berisha, do you have any reason to disagree with that account given by Mr. Jamali?
No, I don't dispute that.
I'd like to come on to deal with Latif Gashi. Mr. Jamali, Latif Gashi was the head of intelligence services for the LAP zone. You were aware of that?
Are you asking Mr. Jamali or me?
I'll get the names the right way around eventually.
Could you please repeat the question?
I asked whether or not you were aware that Latif Gashi was head of the intelligence service in LAP.
No, I was not aware.
In the time period of the war?
Correct.
The war, did you become aware that that was the role he played?
Yes.
Your interactions with Mr. Gashi during the war, it's right that you only met him once during the war, is that right?
Yes, once.
You were never directly tasked by him? That's correct?
I wasn't, no, never.
Alongside him in your role as military police?
Did not.
Obvious, but it's right, therefore, that you are not in a position to assist us with what Latif Gashi did during the war, what his position was, or what his activities were. Is that right?
Correct, yes. I have no knowledge. I don't know what activities he undertook, what post he had, what he did, and so on. I have no knowledge whatsoever.
And it follows, doesn't it, Mr. Berisha, that you would therefore have no knowledge of who reported to him or who he gave orders to, if anybody?
Correct, yes, I have no knowledge.
Now, according to Agron Jamali, he did not report to Latif Gashi and only met him twice during the war. You wouldn't have any reason to dispute that account, would you?
Same objection as earlier.
No, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know.
Now, I just want to bring you back to a question that you were asked by the SPO in your interview. You were asked, and the reference is 072914, oh, pardon me, we have an exhibit number, P01645.1, and it is page 20, line 21. Now, in your SPO, Mr. Berisha, the SPO asked you this: was it Latif Gashi, as head of the information services for the zone, that was tasking Agron Jamali? And you answered, for sure, yes, this is how the chain of command went. Now, pausing there, considering what you've just accepted in terms of the state and limitations of your knowledge about Latif Gashi, can we take that you simply assumed that that's who he would be reporting to? But again, you don't know.
I don't know.
You said earlier you learned after the war that Latif Gashi was head of the information services for LAP, and you knew Mr. Jamali was information services for the brigade.
Yes.
Fair to say that when answering that question for the prosecution, because it made sense in terms of chain of command, that you assumed that that's what the reporting line was, but have no knowledge and were not told that that was true.
I had absolutely no knowledge now.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tully?
We have no questions for the witness. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Honours.
Ms. Alexander, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Witness. My name is Shamila Alexandra, and I represent Mr. Jakub Kresnici today. So I have just very few questions for you, so please bear with me. So my first question to you relates to the Karadak zone. And I'm referring to paragraph 18 of Prep Note 2. And there, sir, you have told the prosecution that the Karadak zone did not coordinate their activities with Brigade 153, and they worked independently. Can you confirm, sir, that that's in fact correct?
Yes.
Could I please ask for exhibit P1655 to be on the screen, please? Could I also please ask for you to be zoomed in a little bit into the uniforms? Yeah, this should do. Sir, could you have a look at the photograph on the screen? You were shown this photo earlier by the prosecutor. And I just wanted you to have a look at the patches on the sleeves of the uniform. And can you confirm for us that, in fact, those are TMK patches? Can you confirm that?
TMK.
Was established after the KLA ceased to exist.
Exakt.
Correct.
Could I go into a closed session very briefly?
Private session, please.
Your Honors, we're in public session.
Go ahead, Ms. Alessandra.
Thank you. So you told the SPO during your interview, and I'm referring to P1645.3, page 18 to 19. You told the SPO that in 2005, you went to France, where you stayed for a period, and you sought asylum. Do you recall saying that?
Oh, du mer person.
Yes, and it was in 2006.
And may I ask, sir, the basis for your application, was it related to the issues that you have also given evidence about in the proceedings before this court? Just a yes or no answer, please, without any details. We're in public.
Jo.
No, I did not.
Så att här har ni nog påstås det så att nog
I did not have an invitation by this office for me to be able to rely on that.
But the basis for your application, did it involve the same incident that you may have given evidence about in the proceedings in this court?
Jo.
No, it was mostly to do for economic reasons.
And did you provide the SPO with the decision rejecting your asylum application?
I wasn't asked by anyone.
Thank you very much. Those were my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Questions? Nothing. Question? Witness, that is the end of your testimony. You will be excused from further obligation to the court. Thank you for being with us. You may leave the courtroom now in the company of the court attendant. We also thank duty counsel for your attendance and for assisting the witness in his testimony. You may leave now.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Rowan.
Your Honour, if I could just correct a reference. I misspoke at page 58, line 9 of today's transcript. The correct reference should be part 1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will take about a 20-minute break to make the transition to the next witness. So we will reconvene at 12:30. Please be available at that time. We are in public session, so we are adjourned until 12:30.
Rise. Rise.
Be seated. We will now begin, start hearing the evidence of prosecution witness W04366, who will be appearing by video link. Madam Court Attendant, you may bring the witness into the room. Thank you. Good morning, witness. Actually, good afternoon, witness. It's now past 12 o'clock. The CMU member at
Good afternoon.
member at your location will provide you with a text of the solemn declaration which you are asked to take pursuant to our rules of procedure. Please take a look. Please stand up first. Now you may take a look at the solemn declaration and then read it aloud.
Conscious of the significance of my testimony and my legal responsibility, I solemnly declare that I shall tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and I shall not withhold anything which has come to my knowledge.
You may be seated. Witness, first of all, can you hear okay?
Yes.
Your testimony, which is expected to last less than 1 day. As you may know, the prosecution will ask you questions, then the defense has the right to ask questions of you. Members of the panel might also ask questions of you. The prosecution estimate for your examination is 30 minutes. The defense estimates that it will need approximately 1.5 hours altogether. As regards each estimate, we hope that the counsel will be judicious in their use of the time. The panel may allow redirect examination if conditions for it are met. Witness, please try to answer the questions clearly with short sentences. If you don't understand a question, feel free to ask counsel to repeat the question or tell them that you don't understand, and they will clarify. Also, please try to indicate the basis of your knowledge of facts and circumstances that you will be asked about. In the event you are asked by the SBO to attest to some corrections made regarding your statements, you are reminded to confirm on the record that the written statement, as corrected by the list of corrections, accurately reflects your declaration. Please also speak into the microphone and wait 5 seconds before answering a question, and then speak at a slow pace for the interpreters to catch up. During the next days while you're giving evidence in this court, you are not allowed to discuss with anyone the content of your testimony outside of the courtroom. If any person asks you questions outside the court about your testimony, please let us know. Please stop talking if I ask you to do so, and also stop talking if you see me raise my hand. These indications mean that I need to give you an instruction. If you feel the need to take a break at any time, please let us know and we will accommodate you. We begin now with the direct examination by the prosecution's office. Please give them your attention. Mr. Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Your Honor, we're in public session.
Court
Thank you.
officer,
You may go ahead.
court officer, could we please have on the screen 059351 TR80 Part 1, Red 2, and the corresponding English version. Yes, Your Honor. 059351 TR80 Part 1, Red 2. Witness, can you see the document on the screen?
Yes.
First part of an interview you had with the SPO in 2019. Do you recall participating in this interview?
Yes, I do remember.
Interview during a preparation session that you conducted with a colleague of mine from the SPO last week.
Yes.
For the next document, I'd like to move into private session, and I will explain the reasons why once we are there.
Into private session, please.
Your Honor, we're in public session.
Did you, witness, do you have the opportunity to review the documents that we have just discussed before we began the preparation session? And
Yes.
you requested to make some corrections, mostly spelling errors, and some other information recorded therein, correct?
Yes.
We wrote down the changes you had requested in a note that was then read back to you, correct? And
Yes.
the readback of the note, you confirmed that you were satisfied that the note accurately reflected the changes that you had requested to be made. Is that correct?
That's right.
Changes you made in that note. Do these statements accurately reflect what you would say today if asked the same questions?
Yes.
We submit that this satisfies the requirements of Rule 154. The SPO6 admission of preparation note 1 with ERN 122749 to 122752, and of the Rule 154 materials found to be admissible in Your Honor's decision of 13 September 2024. That would be F02571, paragraphs 113 to 122. These materials are listed in footnote 226 of that decision. I'm prepared to read the ERNs on the record if necessary.
Any objection?
No objection.
No, thank you.
No objection is heard. 059351 TRAT Part 1. How many parts are there to this?
They are 3 parts.
2?
3.
3. In all 3 parts, that's Part 1, 2, and 3, read 2 is admitted.
Your Honor, those parts will be assigned exhibit numbers P01660.1 for Part 1, P01660.2 for Part 2, and P01660.3 for Part 3, and they will be marked for both English and Albanian versions.
And Your Honor, just a reminder that the ERN of that second statement should not be read out in public.
Sorry, the prep note is 122749 to 122752 and is submitted.
Your Honor, the prep note will be assigned exhibit number P01661.
Then into private session, please.
Your Honors, we're in public session.
Thank you.
Your Honors, with your permission, I'd like to read a short public summary of the witness testimony that was shared with the defense on the 12th of September 2024.
Go ahead.
In 1999, 4366 was arrested by certain KLA members and taken to the metal factory in Cooks. There, 4366 was mistreated, questioned, and held in inhumane conditions. He witnessed the mistreatment of co-detainees and will also be able to provide evidence concerning the death of the murder victim. This concludes the summary.
Thank you.
Now, witness, I only have a couple of additional questions.
Your Honors, we're in public session.
Thank you. Witness, we have a lunch break at this time every day, so you will be excused for an hour and a half. We will be back in the courtroom at 2:30. Please do not speak with anyone about your testimony outside the courtroom, and you may leave the room now in the accompaniment of the court attendant. Enjoy your lunch.
All rise. All rise.
Be seated. Madam Court Officer, you can bring the witness into the room.
And prior to him beginning his, prior to the beginning of the cross-examination, all of my questions should be in private session for his protection. Thank you.
So into private session, please.
Your Honors, we're in public session.
All right, thank you very much. That concludes things for today, unless there's something else to be brought before the bench. We will see you all Monday morning at 9 o'clock. We're adjourned.
All rise.